court has ruled this week that a Ring doorbell, that is one of these doorbells, breached the privacy of a neighbouring property. And as a result of this, the owner of the doorbell is now in line to pay £100,000 compensation to his neighbour. So what went wrong for Mr. Woodward? Why has he been landed, or why is he going to be landed with this huge compensation bill? Why has he lost the case? The answer is very simple. You can have the likes of a Ring doorbell with a video camera or any other doorbell or CCTV that records installed outside of your home. You can do that, there's nothing illegal about it. You also can have that pointing into the road or onto a public footpath. Nothing illegal about that either. But where the problem becomes is if your CCTV, whether it's installed in a doorbell or independently on its own, where it points anywhere outside of your own private boundary, it means in law, under the Data Protection Act and UK GDPR, as I've mentioned, you become what's known as a data controller. That means you now have responsibilities because what you're controlling is people's personal data. In this case, Mr. Woodward was controlling Dr. Fairhurst's personal data. Now, so long as you play by the rules, that will be okay. But let me say this first. My advice is, where possible, if your CCTV or your Ring camera can be pointing only within your personal boundary, in your garden, your personal driveway, as long as it's private, then there are no rules. You are entitled to do that and you're not a data controller. If someone comes onto your land, they're walking into shot, so long as you have a sign that says CCTV recording. But if, as I say, you point this into the public domain, onto a footpath, a road, a driveway that's not private, perhaps a shared driveway, it all changes. Here are the rules that you need to abide by, and if you do, and if Mr. Woodward had done this, he wouldn't have landed himself in court. Number one, always, whenever you are filming CCTV, have a sign that alerts the general public in the vicinity of your property that that's what you're doing. They therefore now know that you're recording and that you have a recording of their personal data. Even if it's on your private land only, I recommend you do that. Secondly, make sure that you consider, do you really need to have this recording? What's the purpose? Now, ordinarily, it's security reasons. That's a good enough reason. But make sure you have in your mind got a good enough reason for doing it. Sounds strange, but when the authorities look at recordings and look at this situation, that's one of the questions they ask. What's the purpose? What's the reason? Is it good enough? For security reasons, my view is it will be good enough. And that, let's face it, is why you have CCTV. Thirdly, if you do save recording, sometimes these doorbells and CCTV are not actually recording, they're filming, but they're not saving the data. If you're saving the data, how long do you need to save it for? Forever is the wrong answer. A year would be the wrong answer. Even 6 months is probably the wrong answer. And what I mean by wrong answer is it's just too long. So if you had, if you were in the habit of deleting recordings perhaps every week or every fortnight or maybe even every month, that would be a good regime to have. Because if someone complains, you can say, I only record for security reasons, I keep it for up to 4 weeks in case anything happens, and I then delete the data, and I'm being responsible. The last tip I have for you, the last thing you must be aware of and must abide by, is if one of your neighbours or someone that has become in shot of your video asks you to provide a copy to them, or indeed to delete their personal data, you must do so. And if you do that, again, you're acting responsibly. You will avoid any claim that comes, like the claim that Dr. Fairhurst levied. I should just say this, if somebody breaks in your house and asks you to delete the image, that's different. That footage you would not have to delete because you've got a perfectly reasonable reason for processing that data, as we call it, for keeping that data, because you're going to pass it on to the authorities. Stick by those rules and you will not be landed with a £100,000 compensation claim.